The galaxy was never quiet. Billions of voices spoke across the stars, signals, transmissions, records of life. The Great Council of Worlds collected all of it. For thousands of years, they kept every detail of every species. Nothing was too small. Nothing was forgotten. Every new race was written in their libraries, their languages, their wars, even their music. When a young civilization sent its first signal into space, the Council recorded it. When a species discovered fire or built cities, their names were carved into history. But there was one strange absence. One planet, covered in blue oceans and green forests, had been overlooked. One species, loud and restless, was missing from the grand archive. This planet was Earth, and this species was humanity. It was not discovered by accident. A junior archivist named Reltor had been working in the records chamber. His job was simple: check transmissions from outer sectors and file them. It was boring work. But on one ordinary cycle, he heard a strange sound. It was not alien. It was not unknown. It was music. The sound was raw, filled with rhythm and emotion. It came from a small blue planet circling a yellow sun. The signals were old, faint, but clear enough to identify. Humans had been sending them for decades. Reltor expected to find a record of this world in the archives. But when he searched, there was nothing, not a single entry. That was impossible. He checked again, searching under different codes. Still nothing. Earth had no record. Humanity had no file. It was as if the planet did not exist. His first thought was simple: a mistake. Maybe a clock had forgotten. Maybe the entry was lost in old wars. The Council was vast, after all. Mistakes happened. But as he searched deeper, the truth became stranger. There were signs of missing data, whole sections erased, pages blank where names should be. Someone had carefully removed all evidence. Reltor felt uneasy. Why would anyone erase a small planet like this? The council chambers were full of voices when Reltor presented his discovery. "Esteemed elders," he began, holding the faint signal in his hands. "I found transmissions from a world called Earth, but I cannot find their record." The chamber filled with whispers. Some council members looked confused, others amused. One elder, with a long silver crest, gave a cold laugh. "A primitive world," he said, "not worth our attention. Forget them." Another added, "The galaxy is filled with countless rocks. Why bring us this nonsense?" Reltor tried to protest. "But every other world is listed. Even the smallest tribe worlds are written. Why not this one?" The laughter grew louder. "They are weak. They are young. They are nothing. Do your work, archivists, and stop chasing shadows." The meeting ended in ridicule. Reltor was dismissed, but not everyone had laughed. As the council filed out, he noticed something strange. A few elders remained silent. They did not smile. They did not mock. Instead, their eyes flickered with unease. They exchanged quick, worried glances. Reltor felt a chill. They knew something. Back in the archives, he could not let go of the mystery. He replayed the human music again and again. There was something raw, something powerful in it. It was unlike the ordered songs of other species. It carried rage, hope, sorrow, joy, all at once. He began to imagine these humans. Who were they? What kind of minds created such sound? And why had the council erased them? The deeper he searched, the more the fear grew inside him. Records had not simply been forgotten. They had been destroyed. Someone, long ago, had ordered Earth to be hidden. Someone powerful. Someone afraid. But afraid of what? Reltor's hands trembled as he uncovered one final clue. In a restricted section, hidden behind layers of false codes, he found a mark. It was simple, a drawing of a world with blue seas. Beside it, in bold alien script, were two chilling words: "Do not record." The young archivist sat frozen. His heart pounded in his chest. Why would the council forbid even the mention of Earth? Across the stars, billions of worlds were known, named, and studied. Yet this one, this single world, was forbidden. He realized then this was no mistake. This was a conspiracy. Reltor looked once more at the faint human signal. It was a voice, a song, drifting alone through space. The humans had shouted into the void, and the galaxy had ignored them. But the silence was not natural. It was chosen. And as Reltor leaned closer to the recording, he whispered to himself, if they were ignored, it was not by accident. It was by design. The screen flickered. The music faded. But the fear remained. The question hung heavy in his mind, a shadow he could not escape. What was so dangerous about Earth that the galaxy had to erase it? Reltor could not sleep. The words he had seen haunted him. Do not record. It was not a mistake. It was a command. He walked through the endless corridors of the great archive, every step echoing with questions. Why hide Earth? Why erase humans? Why forbid even their name? The answers would not be found in open holes. The truth, he knew, lived in shadows. The next day, Reltor stood once again in the great council chamber. Rows upon rows of alien elders sat in tall seats, their jeweled robes glowing under the light. The chamber smelled of incense and dust, the weight of centuries pressing down. He raised his voice carefully. Honored council, I request to know why the records of Earth were destroyed. Silence followed. Then, laughter. A reptilian elder leaned forward, his tongue flicking. Still chasing that pebble. Archivist, have you nothing better to do? Another, with 6 glittering eyes, shook her head. Earth is nothing. A primitive world, barely walking upright. Do not waste our time. Reltor swallowed his fear. With respect, elders, every world is recorded. Even the smallest, even the weakest. Yet Earth is forbidden. Why? The chamber grew restless. Some muttered angrily. Others smiled coldly. Then one voice cut through the noise. Enough. It was Elder Vera, one of the oldest members of the council. Her skin was pale as bone, her eyes like black glass. She rarely spoke. When she did, all listened. She stared at Reltor for a long moment. Her gaze felt heavy, like stone pressing against his chest. Finally, she said, there are secrets in this galaxy, Archivist. Secrets too dangerous to touch. You will leave Earth alone. That is the order of this council. Her tone was sharp, final, but Reltor noticed something. Her voice had not been filled with scorn, nor with amusement. It had been filled with something else. Fear. After the meeting, the council chamber emptied. Reltor lingered near the doors, pretending to gather his data slate. From the shadows, he watched as a small group of elders stayed behind. They thought they were alone. Their voices were hushed, urgent. He should not have found it. One hissed. The archivist is young. He will learn fear, another replied. And if he does not, then he will disappear. Reltor's blood froze. They were not only hiding Earth. They were ready to silence anyone who uncovered the truth. He slipped away before they could notice him. His hands shook, his mind racing. What was Earth that it could terrify even the oldest rulers of the galaxy? That night, he returned to the archive vaults. The holes were empty, silent except for the hum of data crystals. He walked deeper than he had ever dared before, into sections guarded by lock codes and warnings. One lock was old, almost forgotten. His fingers trembled as he pressed the access keys. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside were shelves of erased files, blank records, empty scrolls, and in the center, a pedestal holding a single fractured tablet. On the tablet was carved a simple image, a circle with blue oceans and green land. Earth! Beneath it were words etched in warning. Do not awaken them. Reltor's heart pounded. Who were they? Why must they not be awakened? Before he could study further, a sound echoed behind him. Footsteps. He quickly hid in the shadows. 2 council guards entered, whispering. Another record erased today, one said. The humans must remain forgotten. Good, the other replied. If they rise again, everything falls. The guards left, their steps fading. Reltor remained frozen, the words burning in his mind. If they rise again, everything falls. The next day, he tried to act normal, but he could not hide the tension. His mentor, a kind old archivist named Dren, noticed his shaking hands. You have found something, haven't you? Dren asked quietly. Reltor hesitated. I found Earth. Dren's face went pale. His voice dropped to a whisper. Do not speak that name here. Not ever. The council listens. Always. Why? Reltor begged. Why are they hiding it? What is Earth? For a long time, Dren said nothing. His eyes were distant, filled with old sorrow. Finally, he whispered, I was there once, long ago. I saw what happened. That is why they erased it. Reltor leaned closer. Tell me. But before Dren could speak, the whole lights flickered. A cold voice echoed through the archive. Reltor, report to the High Chamber at once. It was the council. They had summoned him. Reltor's stomach twisted as he walked into the chamber. The elders waited, their eyes cold and watchful. Elder Vera rose slowly, her voice like a blade. Archivist, she said, you have asked too many questions. You have gone where you were not allowed. The council does not forgive curiosity. Reltor felt the weight of their gaze pressing down on him. He wanted to speak, but his throat was dry. Vera's words echoed through the chamber. You will forget Earth, or you will join those who already tried to remember it. The lights dimmed. Shadows stretched across the hall. Reltor felt his breath catch, and in that moment, he understood. This was not just a secret. This was a threat. The order was clear. Reltor was told to forget Earth, or vanish like those before him. But he could not stop. The command only made his curiosity burn stronger. Why would the council threaten him for a single missing planet? Why hide it so carefully? Why erase every trace? Reltor knew the answers were buried in the forbidden sections of the archive, places no young archivist was allowed to enter, places even senior archivists feared to touch. And so, in the silence of night, he returned. The archive vaults were endless. Towering shelves stretched into darkness, filled with glowing crystals and ancient tablets. Every sound echoed, the hum of machines, the soft buzz of locked doors. Reltor moved quietly, his hand shaking as he passed through restricted halls. Each step felt heavier than the last. He knew if he was caught, it would mean exile, or worse. At the farthest chamber, he stopped before a black door. A warning burned across it in golden letters. Restricted. Authorized council only. Reltor hesitated. Then he pressed his palm against the reader. The door hissed open. Inside was dust. Silence. Forgotten rows of sealed cases lay before him. Most were blank, erased, or destroyed. But one glowed faintly, an old crystal with a crack down its side. He lifted it carefully. The crystal flickered alive. A voice filled the room. It was not alien. It was human. Static filled the recording, but words still cut through. This is Commander Holt of the first expedition. We have reached Earth. The natives are... The message broke. Static hissed. Then a final whisper. Run. The crystal died. Reltor's heart pounded. A human voice. A desperate warning. He searched the shelves again and found fragments, reports with redacted lines, maps half erased, records deliberately broken. But the pieces told a chilling story. Long ago, the Council had sent scouts to Earth. They expected to study a weak, primitive species. But those scouts never returned. The silence in the chamber grew heavy, pressing against him. Reltor thought of Elder Vera's cold words. Do not awaken them. Why would the galaxy fear a species trapped on a single planet? What could humans possibly do? As he searched deeper, he found another crystal hidden beneath shattered scrolls. This one was older, but still intact. He activated it. A flickering image appeared, a council report. Expedition 14. The voice read, Objective, observe species 731. Status, hostile. Casualties, total. Recommendation, quarantine planet. Erase record. Do not engage. The image ended. Reltor stood frozen. Total casualties. An entire expedition lost to humans. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. Reltor panicked. He quickly hid the crystals beneath his robe and pressed himself against the shadows. 2 council guards entered the chamber, their weapons glowing faintly. Another sweep, one muttered. Orders are clear. No trace of Earth must remain. The other guard snorted. Good. If the archivists knew the truth, they'd panic. That world is cursed. Their voices lowered as they passed, but Reltor heard enough to make his blood run cold. They were not just hiding Earth. They were guarding it. Reltor fled the chamber, his mind spinning with questions. Why was Earth labeled hostile? How could a single primitive world destroy an entire expedition? He thought back to the music he had first discovered, the raw anger, the sorrow, the fire inside human voices. Perhaps it had not been just music. Perhaps it had been a warning. Back in his small quarters, he replayed the fragments again and again. Run. Casualties. Total. Do not engage. The words echoed in his skull like thunder. For the first time, he felt fear. Not of the council, not of exile, but of Earth. The next morning, he tried to act normal. But his mentor, Dren, noticed his pale face. You went into the forbidden holes, didn't you? Dren whispered. Reltor swallowed. I found voices, records, reports of expeditions that never returned. They were erased. Dren closed his eyes, grief shadowing his face. I told you, boy, he said softly. I saw it once. The council hides it for a reason. What reason? Reltor demanded. What is Earth? What are humans? Dren hesitated. His hands trembled. Finally, he whispered, they fight like no other. They do not stop. They do not fear death. And when the council first touched Earth, we learned that too late. Reltor stared in shock. You mean they won? Dren's silence was the answer. Before Reltor could ask more, a cold alarm echoed through the archives. A deep voice boomed from the chamber walls. Unauthorized access detected. Archivist Reltor, report to the council immediately. The blood drained from his face. They knew. He clutched the hidden crystals against his chest. The recordings pulsed faintly, as if alive. He realized then that he was holding forbidden truth, truth worth killing for. And somewhere, deep in the void, the humans who had sent that desperate message were still waiting. The council's voice echoed again, sharper this time. Reltor, you cannot run. But as he stood there, trembling, one thought burned inside him. If the council fears Earth this much, maybe it is not Earth that should be feared. Maybe it is the council. The lights flickered, the alarms wailed, and Reltor knew the real story of Earth was only beginning. The council's voice still echoed in Reltor's ears. You cannot run. But run he did. With the stolen crystals hidden beneath his robe, he slipped through the dim holes of the archives. Every shadow felt alive. Every sound made his heart race. He knew the council would come for him. And yet, one thought burned stronger than fear. He needed answers. He could not trust the elders. He could not trust the guards. But there were others, old veterans who had once served in the galaxy's wars. They lived far from the shining halls, broken and forgotten. Some of them had seen things the council never wanted recorded. So Reltor left the archives and walked into the lower levels of the city. The air was thick with smoke, the lights broken, the streets filled with silence. Here, among the ruins of forgotten soldiers, truth sometimes slipped free. He entered a small drinking den. The walls were cracked, the tables crooked. At the far corner, an old warrior sat alone. His armor was rusted, his skin scarred with burns. One eye was missing. Reltor approached carefully. Are you veteran Corin? The soldier lifted his head slowly. His single eye studied Reltor with suspicion. Who asks? A friend, Reltor whispered. I need to know about Earth. The name alone changed the air. Conversation stopped. The few other veterans in the room looked away. A heavy silence fell. Corin's eye narrowed. Earth. That name is forbidden. You should leave before someone hears you. I can't, Reltor said firmly. I know the council erased them. I know expeditions were lost. But why? What happened there? For a long time, Corin said nothing. Then he laughed, a dry, broken sound. You really don't know, he muttered. You archivists think the council protects us. You're wrong. They protect themselves. Reltor leaned closer. Tell me. Corin's hand shook as he lifted a metal flask. He drank deeply, then slammed it down. I was there, he said finally. Not on Earth itself, but close. I saw fleets sent to test them. I saw those fleets vanish. Reltor's eyes widened. Vanish? How? Corrin's voice dropped to a whisper. Humans. That's how. The council thought they were primitives. Easy prey. But humans, they fight differently. Reltor's heart pounded. Differently how? The old soldier leaned forward, his scarred face shadowed. They do not fear death. They do not surrender. They adapt to every weapon, every tactic. When you cut them down, they rise again. When you corner them, they break through. The council expected beasts. Instead, they found something worse. Reltor shivered. Worse! Corrin's eye burned with memory. They found survivors. Fighters who turned fear into fury. Fighters who taught the galaxy what pain really means. I saw the wreckage myself. Ships torn apart. Soldiers scattered like ash. Humans did that, with nothing but steel and fire. Reltor's breath caught. He thought of the music he had first heard. Rage, sorrow, hope. It all made sense now. Humans had poured their spirit into everything they touched. Why erase them? He asked softly. Corrin's laugh was bitter. Because fear spreads faster than war. If the galaxy knew that primitives could destroy fleets, every species would question the council. Order would fall. Power would fall. So they buried the truth. They erased Earth. They made the galaxy forget. Reltor's mind spun. The council wasn't protecting the galaxy. They were hiding their own defeat. But one question still burned. If humans were that dangerous, why leave them alive? Corrin's face hardened. He leaned closer, his whisper sharp as a blade. Because killing them all would be worse. If even one survived, they would rise again. And believe me, archivists, they always survive. Reltor's blood ran cold. Suddenly, the den's door slammed open. 2 council guards entered, scanning the room. Their armor gleamed, their weapons charged. Reltor froze. Had they tracked him? The guards' voices were sharp. By order of the High Council, any who speak the forbidden name will be silenced. The veterans lowered their heads, pretending ignorance. But Corrin did not move. His one eye glared at the soldiers. Slowly, he stood. You want silence, he growled. Then silence me. The guards hesitated. Even broken, a veteran was dangerous. Reltor used a distraction. He slipped out the back, his heart racing, his mind burning with new terror. He hurried through the dark alleys, the soldiers' words echoing in his ears. They always survive. The council had erased Earth, not because humans were weak, but because they were strong. Too strong. Strong enough to threaten the order of the galaxy itself. Back in his quarters, Reltor pulled out the stolen crystals. The human voice whispered again. Run. He finally understood why. Earth was not forgotten. It was feared. But as he sat there in silence, another thought struck him. The council could hide Earth for centuries. They could erase records, silence witnesses, bury the truth. But they could not stop time. Humans were still there, still growing, still advancing. And soon they would look to the stars again. When they did, the galaxy's silence would end, and the council's conspiracy would shatter. Reltor could no longer see the galaxy the same way. Every star, every council order, every record suddenly felt like a lie. The veteran's whispers had opened a door inside his mind. And behind that door was fear, the kind of fear the council had spent centuries hiding. But whispers were not enough. He needed proof. He needed to know what really happened on Earth. And so, once again, he returned to the forbidden halls. The chamber was darker than before. The alarms had been reset. The guards gone. The council thought fear alone would keep him away. But Reltor was not afraid anymore. He searched the shelves until he found it, a crystal buried deep in the rubble, its glow faint but alive. The words etched on its surface made his breath catch. War record, Earth. His hand shook as he activated it. The recording began with images of a fleet, dozens of warships shining against the void, banners of the council stretched across their hulls. A voice spoke over the image. Expedition 31. Objective, Pacify World 731. Designation, Earth. The scene shifted. Blue oceans, green forests, mountains covered in snow. Humanity's homeworld, captured from above. The voice continued. Council forces expect swift victory. Natives show signs of primitive tools. No advanced weapons detected. Reltor felt his stomach twist. The Council had thought humans were prey. But the next image shattered that illusion. Smoke, fire, broken ships falling into oceans. The voice faltered. Unexpected resistance. Casualties higher than predicted. Humans, they... Static tore through the recording. Then another voice, panicked, filled the chamber. They are not primitive. Repeat, they are not primitive. They adapt every strike, every weapon. They... A scream cut the message short. The image shifted again. Reltor saw human soldiers, their faces fierce, their weapons crude but deadly. They fought with fire, with steel, with fury in their eyes. Against advanced alien troops, they should have been nothing, but they were winning. Reltor's hearts raced as the recording continued. Day 14, entire outpost destroyed. Humans do not surrender. They do not retreat. Even wounded, they fight until death. Entire squads lost to a single human ambush. Another image showed a battlefield. Council soldiers lying broken, while human warriors stood over them, blooded but unbroken. Day 23, humans captured our weapons. They have learned to use them. They are turning our own technology against us. Reltor's breath caught. Primitive species took centuries to understand alien tools, but humans had done it in days. The recording grew darker. Day 41, fleet command falling. Ships destroyed. Our generals executed by humans. This world, this cursed world. Static again. The image flickered. Then came the final entry. Day 60, mission failure. Total loss. Survivors, none. The crystal went dark. Reltor stood frozen. He had just witnessed the truth the Council had buried. The humans had faced the greatest fleet of their age. And they had won. He remembered the Council elders laughing at him, calling Earth primitive. Now he understood. It was not laughter. It was denial. The truth was too dangerous to speak. But there was more. Another crystal sat beside the first, older and cracked. Reltor activated it with trembling hands. This time, the image showed the Council chamber itself. Younger, brighter, filled with panic. One elder shouted, "This war must be erased. If the galaxy learns that primitives destroyed us, our rule will collapse." Another cried, "Then let them collapse. We cannot hide this." Elder Vera's voice silenced them all. Younger, but still sharp. "No, we will bury Earth. We will erase its name. We will make the galaxy forget. Because if humans rise again, we will all fall." The chamber erupted in silence. Then the vote was taken, and history was rewritten. Reltor's hands trembled. The conspiracy stretched back centuries. The Council had not only lost a war, they had rewritten reality to cover their shame. He turned the crystal off and pressed it against his chest. His breath came fast. His mind burned. Everything he had believed was a lie. Suddenly, the chamber lights flared. The heavy door slammed shut. Reltor spun around. Elder Vera stood in the doorway, her black eyes cold. Guards flanked her, weapons raised. "You have seen too much," she said. Her voice was calm, almost sad. "Now you understand why Earth was erased." Reltor's throat was dry. You lost. You feared them." Vera stepped closer. "We did more than fear them. We survived them. And survival has a price. Silence. You should have obeyed." The guards raised their weapons. But Reltor's grip tightened on the crystals. His voice trembled, but his words were sharp. "You can kill me, but you cannot kill the truth. One day, humans will return to the stars. And when they do, your silence will not save you." Vera's eyes narrowed. For the first time, Reltor thought he saw something in her cold face. Not anger, not scorn, but dread. The chamber grew heavy with silence. The guards closed in, and Reltor realized that the war was not over. It had only been hidden. The chamber was silent. Reltor stood with the stolen crystals pressed to his chest, the guards' weapons aimed at him. Elder Vera's black eyes burned like fire. "You know the truth now," she said coldly. "And the truth is a weapon, one that must never be unleashed." Reltor's voice trembled, but he forced himself to speak. The truth is already alive. You cannot erase it forever, and soon humans will rise again. For the first time, Vera did not answer. Her silence was heavier than words. That silence spread. Within the council itself, whispers began to grow. Not everyone agreed with the old order anymore. Younger members, those who had never fought the hidden war, began to question the elders. Why erase a whole world? Some asked. Why lie to us? Others demanded. The elders gave no answers, but silence only fed suspicion. Soon, cracks began to appear. In the lower halls of the city, Reltor found secret allies. Archivists who had heard fragments of the human signals. Veterans who still carried scars of the war. Even council aides who had overheard whispers in closed meetings. They all said the same thing. The galaxy could not be controlled forever, and Earth was already stirring. Across the stars, humans had begun to reach higher. Their machines stretched into orbit. Their probes wandered between planets. Their voices, once faint, now carried stronger into the void. They were coming. Reltor knew it. The Council knew it. And the galaxy itself began to feel it. Inside the high chamber, arguments erupted. Elder Vera slammed her staff against the floor. We must prepare. If humans rise again, they will bring chaos. We cannot let them leave their world. Another elder shouted back, Enough lies. If they are so dangerous, why did we not end them long ago? A younger member, bold and reckless, rose from his seat. Because you feared them. You hide behind silence and secrecy. But fear cannot last forever. The chamber filled with shouts. Some demanded action, destroy Earth before it was too late. Others demanded peace, warn the humans, guide them, avoid another war. The Council, once united, was tearing apart. Reltor listened from the shadows. He had never seen the elders so divided. The mighty rulers of the galaxy were afraid of a single world that did not even know they existed. And yet, the humans did not need to know. Their very existence was enough to break the Council's chains. That night, Reltor met again with veteran Corin. The old soldiers I burned with grim fire. They are breaking, aren't they? Corin said. Yes. Reltor whispered. They argue. They fight. Half of them want to silence her forever. Half want to reveal the truth. Corin's scarred mouth twisted into a bitter smile. Good. The Council deserves to crumble. But you, archivists, you must choose a side. Reltor felt the weight of his words. His whole life had been about recording truth. But now, truth itself was dangerous. If he revealed what he knew, the galaxy might fall into panic. If he kept silent, the conspiracy would continue. Either way, the humans would not stay silent forever. Days later, the Council met again. This time, their voices shook the chamber walls. Destroy Earth now, one elder roared. Fools! To attack them is to repeat our old mistake, another shouted. Then guide them before it's too late, a younger member cried. Elder Vera raised her staff once more, but the voices no longer obeyed her. The unity was gone. The cracks had become fractures. Reltor stepped forward at last. His voice echoed across the chamber. You cannot hide the truth anymore. Earth is moving forward. Even now, their first colony ship is being built. Soon they will step into the stars. You cannot stop them. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to him. Then a low murmur began, spreading like fire. Shock, fear, anger. A colony ship. The humans were already preparing to leave their world. Elder Vera's face was pale, her black eyes wide. For the first time, Reltor saw true dread in her expression. They are not ready, she whispered. The galaxy is not ready. But it was too late. Far away, on a small blue planet, engines were being tested. Metal wings were being forged. Humanity was preparing to take its first true step into the void. The silence was ending. That night, Reltor sat alone with the crystals. The human voice whispered again, faint but clear. Run. But this time, he did not feel fear. He felt something else. Hope, because maybe the galaxy needed humans. Maybe the silence needed to be broken. And deep in his heart, he knew one thing was certain. The Council could not ignore Earth any longer. The council chamber had never been so loud. Elders shouted. Guards struggled to keep order, and the walls of the grand hall shook with the weight of fear. For centuries, the council had hidden Earth. For centuries, they had believed silence would keep them safe. But now, silence was cracking, and humanity was rising. Across the stars, signals grew stronger. Reltor heard them every night when he replayed the crystals. They were no longer faint whispers but bold voices, carrying music, speeches, laughter, even anger into the void. The humans were no longer hiding in their forests or oceans. They were building ships. They were reaching beyond their sky, and nothing could stop them. In secret, Reltor met with allies, archivists, veterans, younger council members who no longer trusted the old order. The people must know, one whispered. If the council continues to hide the truth, the galaxy will collapse when humans arrive, another said. Reltor knew they were right. The truth was like fire. The longer it was buried, the hotter it would burn when it finally escaped. And now, the fire was already spreading. Elder Vera felt it too. She stood in the council chamber, her voice sharp but unsteady. Humanity must not be allowed to rise unchecked. If they leave their world, chaos will follow. War will return. But her words no longer carried the same weight. One younger member stood and shouted, "We will not live in fear of a single species. If they survive the council's fleet, then perhaps they deserve their place among the stars." Another added, "Better to face truth than to live forever in lies." The chamber shook with division. The council was no longer united. Meanwhile, far away, humanity was taking its first step. The ship was not large by galactic standards. Its hull was crude, its engines loud, its shape clumsy, but it was strong enough to break free from Earth's pull. On launch day, the humans gathered by the thousands. Their voices rose together in cheers, in songs, in hope. And then, with fire beneath it, the ship climbed into the sky. Reltor watched the broadcast in secret. His breath caught as the vessel tore through the clouds. His heart raced when it broke into the black of space. The humans had awakened. The next council meeting was chaos. "Destroy them now before it's too late," one elder screamed. "Too late already," another muttered. "They are only one ship. We can crush them before they spread. And if they are stronger than we imagine again, do you want to repeat history?" The voices clashed like thunder. Finally, Elder Vera raised her staff. Her eyes were filled not with power, but with exhaustion. "You do not understand," she said. Her voice cracked like breaking stone. "Humans cannot be crushed. We tried. We failed. If they rise again, none of us will survive." The chamber fell silent. For the first time, the elders heard not authority in her words, but fear. Reltor stepped forward. His voice was steady, his hands holding the crystals high. "You cannot stop them. You cannot erase them. The truth is here." He activated the crystals. The chamber filled with the old recordings, the lost war, the screams, the orders to erase Earth. Gasps filled the air. Guards lowered their weapons. Even the oldest elders turned pale. The conspiracy was broken. The galaxy knew. But as the echoes of the humans' victory filled the hall, Reltor realized something deeper. The council had feared humanity not only because they were strong, but because they were different. They did not fight like others. They did not surrender. They adapted. They endured. And soon, the galaxy would face them again. Far away, the human ship drifted beyond Earth's shadow. Its crew looked out into the endless night, unaware of the eyes watching them from distant worlds. Unaware of the council. Unaware of the war buried in silence. But they carried something stronger than weapons. Something no council could erase. Hope. Reltor stood at the edge of the chamber, the crystals glowing in his hands. The elders argued, the guards panicked, the galaxy itself seemed to tremble. But above all, one truth burned clear in his mind. The silence was over. Humanity was awake, and the galaxy would never be the same.